Clear thinking is our superpower as a human. And I don't think it's something that is considered enough. We talk so much about productivity and life hacks. And I find myself watching, YouTube shorts on how to best clean my house. And we forget about the fact that we tend to have our own answers. Like we can figure things out. We don't always have to rely on ChatGPT and tools and external resources when we forget the fact that we are our greatest resource. And it's hilarious to me because I do this all the time myself. I'm not pretending like I'm, some above all person. Like I have plenty of social media holes where I'm like, "Oh wow, so this is how I could do this backyard project." And then I tell my husband and he's like, "Yeah, when are you actually going to do that?" And this example got me thinking about we think we have to do so many things and we think our way into these holes, honestly. And there's a mental heaviness that we don't realize we carry around. I have never experienced this level of it until I became an entrepreneur. It's not until I owned my own business that I realized how heavy of a mental load you can actually carry because you're doing so many things. You are not just delivering a product or service, you're also probably the director of your own marketing and director of your own brand and director of systems and operations. You may also be managing a team. You may be trusting certain people to give you advice or guidance or get their thoughts because they maybe have done something successful in your industry. So there's this constant consumption of information as well as exertion of energy and direction. And you are constantly making decisions, whether you realize it or not. Welcome to Confessions of a Spiritual Entrepreneur. I'm Samantha Fackler, your host, business mentor, brand strategist, and someone who believes that building a business is one of the most spiritual journeys you can take. I am here to help you grow your business through proven strategies and aligned practices, so ultimately you can make more money while being in a state of ease. I've worked with brands that you, your mom, and your grandma know, but I am also spiritual. I love astrology, I keep crystals in my desk, and I'm a Reiki master. So I bring an extra little flavor to this conversation. Let's get into it. If you think about it, whether you are drafting a caption or writing an email or making a huge investment decision, all of those things are decisions. And if we think about the brain for a moment and actually how we make decisions, we are analyzing so many different paths at the same time. And we don't realize this because it happens so fast. So, for example, I woke up this morning and I realized I had overcommitted myself, as one does. And I realized that I needed to uncommit myself, if that's a word, to some of these things so that I could find a little bit more spaciousness, a little bit more clear thinking, if you will. Now I woke up and I felt this pressure. I was like, oh man, I have to, you know, eat breakfast because I need to eat it at a certain time to, optimize my hormones and vitality. And then I need to feed June, my dog, and make sure she gets out to the park by this time before the crazy dogs get there so she can actually like run really fast and do her thing in that space. And then I told one friend I'd meet her at the farmer's market and another friend that I would call her about an hour and a half later. Oh, I was ready to sink in a puddle before the day even started. And I know this happens all the time during work too. And it got me thinking, hold up, this actually doesn't have to be my day. And I don't need to carry around this heavy energy. I can dump this and think more clearly about my day, but I need to do something to get there. Because if I keep moving in this kind of like heavy, bogged down way of thinking and living, then I'm just going to continue to carry this mental load with me. And I don't want to do that. Because I don't know about you, but when I think clearly, I am so much more efficient. I don't end up in these tangles because I'm thinking open-mindedly and like I don't have blinders on and I'm, hitting the left wall and then the right wall of my brain at all times. I feel more expansive, I feel energetic, and then what I do end up doing with my day, my life, my time, it has a higher quality to it. Meaning that if I'm meeting with someone, the quality of that conversation and connection is so much higher and deeper. If I am doing a task, I'm going to be faster at that and I will actually probably enjoy that. And I had a really big realization around this when I was in Joshua Tree. I know I've talked about this a bit, but I took it as like a solo retreat to just get some time away from things, be by myself, because I really needed to sit with like these bigger things coming up in my life, these bigger waves, these lessons of things that I needed to let go of. And one huge lesson that I realized in Joshua Tree was that I was always in a rush. Even when I was at this really cool, kind of like Mars feeling hotel in the desert by myself with no plans except for a 1 day meditation retreat during my stay there, I felt like I was in a rush. I caught myself in the shower, like thinking like, okay, I need to like hurry up and like do the conditioner and like not forget, that I have conditioner in my hair and then get out of the shower and, do my whole 5 step skincare routine. And then, and I was thinking like 100 steps ahead of time and I was missing the present moment. And I don't want this to sound like a Zen, like be in the present moment, power of now type thing. Not that those aren't valuable, those are beautiful, but I wasn't thinking clearly. I wasn't thinking clearly. And that sucked. I was like, whoa, 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 I'm going to slow down. I'm actually going to enjoy the feel of stroking my own hair in the shower and the softness of this conditioner on my hands. And I'm going to enjoy putting these products on my face and imagining them actually like sinking into my pores and doing their job. I am going to enjoy reading or taking these steps to the pool area where I'm going to have dinner. And I was able to sink into a presence and a clearer mode of thinking just by slowing it down that way and thinking to myself, I'm just going to be intentional about each thing I'm doing. And I'm going to try and not feel like I have to get it done in a certain way or by a certain time. Even if I do, I'm just going to tune into what I am doing and let that anchor my chaotic brain. And what I noticed is when I did this, time slowed down. What I did, I actually ended up doing faster, even though I wasn't trying to speed up things. And ultimately, when I looked at this, it was because my brain was thinking more clearly. Now, if we break this down, it's because I was able to eliminate the chatter of my, let's call it monkey brain or overactive brain. I was able to like be like, shh, look, I know you're valuable. You make me so productive and fast, and you've made me really successful. But I'm going to actually switch modes over here to just kind of like slowly in the present moment. Are you okay if I do that? And it's like I get permission from that part of me. And that part of me says yes. And if it says no, then I have a, gentle conversation with it. Ultimately, treating it, like a child part of me, an inner part, like, as if it was my puppy. And ultimately get to a point of, okay, I am going to switch over here into this more present, intentional mode of behaving and acting. And when I can do that, what the brain is doing is that it's slowing down the chatter and it's actually able to pick up more information. More, your other senses are turning on. And when we drop into the body, our brain gets a break. And what I have noticed, especially with entrepreneurs, is that we don't really give our brains a break. we tend to always be thinking about the business, even if it's in the back of our minds. And I would love to interview like a psychologist or psychiatrist or some sort of brain expert on this and see what studies have been done with business owners because it's so true. Like our mental state is always so thick with stuff. And I do believe that when we can tune into our body and other senses, our brain space opens up. And the kicker is that when we're doing this, that's when our big answers and breakthroughs and our insights come in. Happens every time. Sometimes when we put too much focus on something and we're thinking about something too hard, we end up in a tizzy. Like we wrap ourselves up in it and then we don't know how to get out. So I share this today because you can drop into the body at any time. And it doesn't have to be a meditation. It doesn't have to be going to see an energy healer. You have the tools with you at all moments of every day. And so, a couple of tips here. I learned this from PQ, Positive Intelligence Quotient, I believe it's called. And you can even just like rub your index finger and thumb together and just notice kind of the feel between your two fingers. You can notice the shape of your thumb, the shape of your index finger. And when you do this, you're immediately dropping into the body. And you can do this anywhere. You can do this in a meeting with people. You can do this on stage when you're public speaking. You can do this in bed. You can do it while walking, while waiting in line for food. Like it's so cool because it's so subtle. And another one is obviously you can tune into your feet, but not necessarily just thinking about your feet, but what can the bottoms of your feet feel? Do they feel a sock? Do they feel a certain amount of pressure? Are you able to tune in to like, are they warm or cool? And this is a really quick grounding exercise you can do anytime. And you'll notice if you kind of keep your attention there for, let's say, a minute or two, your brain will feel a bit lighter. And the third one is movement. So sometimes we actually need to shake up the body to drop out of the brain. And with this, you can stretch, you can move, you can even just like roll your wrists, your ankles, wiggle your toes and fingers. I personally love to move my torso, like to breathe and just kind of move it in circles. I actually find when I tap in intuitively or like in my mornings, if I'm trying to like meditate and kind of connect to a greater consciousness or I don't know, power, whatever you want to call it, moving my torso in a circular motion actually helps me do that. And it also helps me get out of my brain. The last one, and I actually do this on calls all the time, is that sometimes our brains will really feel hot. It's like a car that's been running for too long. And either that, or maybe you have a headache coming on, or you just feel like, God, there's so much on my brain, on my mind. I want you to imagine and start to visualize that all of that activity actually starts to drop into the body. It's like it slowly goes from your brain down your neck into your body where your body can actually hold it. Because if you think of how small the head is compared to the entire body, notice that your whole body is like this giant vessel that can actually take in that activity. It can take in that heaviness and digest it for you. And it's nothing for the body because the body has all this muscle and all these organs and so much more room for all this heaviness to go. It actually can turn to lightness in the body. So you can imagine that this kind of activity, whatever it may look like in your brain, whether it's like a network lighting up or like a huge stack of papers, whatever comes to mind, just imagine that that starts to drip into the body and your body can carry it. Your body says, yes, bring it here. Put it on my desk. I got this for you. You can also physically take your hands and do this. And so sometimes I will tap the top of my head and then just slowly, lightly using my palms and my fingers, kind of starting with my scalp, I'll just like slowly brush them down the sides of my head, imagining that my hands are taking that energy with it, sliding them down my neck, into my chest and kind of core area. Imagining that my hands are actually moving it. Because sometimes my brain is moving so fast that I can't even stick to the visualization. I forget where I'm at. I board a train 200 miles an hour to work subject A or work subject B or life subject C. So using your physical hands to go from your head, down the sides of your head, maybe even brushing the back of your head to your neck and down your chest, core. You can go all the way down to the floor if you want to, moving it totally out of the body. But this actually is a huge thing that I like to do between calls and at the beginning of the day, definitely at the end of the day, to just kind of cleanse. And what I find is that after I do it a couple times, I do feel my head is a little lighter. And I do feel like I can think a bit more clearly. So I hope that this gave you a couple of quick, easy tools to clear your mode of thinking at any time, any day, in any situation. Because as someone who is so business focused and ambitious and has huge freaking goals, but who also is an energy healer and deeply understands how energy works in, through, and around the body, and also has a super deep intuition, I felt really called to share this because I don't think it's shared in such an easy, practical way. I think a lot of times people think they need to meditate an hour every morning to think clearly, and you don't. You don't have to meditate at all if it's not for you. Or some people need to like work out and do strength training every morning to feel like they have more brain space. And it's like, well, I don't know if strength training every single morning is really going to do it for you. So I really hope that these tools gave you something valuable, some little things in your back pocket that you can whip out at any time, especially as we enter the holidays, which is a very busy time of year. With that, thank you for being here. My name is Samantha Fackler. You can find me on Instagram at samantha.fackler. And if you got something valuable from this episode, share it with a friend. Pass it on, pass the love on, and I will catch you all next time.